All right, everyone, welcome to another episode of All's Make No Lake. I'm here with Patrick, our Patchymate, an amazing producer, guitarist, vocalist, musician, person from Philly. And
Thank
yeah,
you so much.
thank you for coming to the show. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It means a lot.
And just to start us off, could you introduce yourself and talk a little bit about your musical project?
For sure, yeah. My name is Patrick. I work under the artist alias Patchymate. Sorry if there's cicada sounds. That's just the area I'm in right now. But yeah, I recently released a project called Avian that kind of illustrated the last year I had. And yeah, a lot more people liked it than I thought would. So
Yeah,
now I'm here.
I'm one of those people. Avian was one of the best releases of this year, for sure.
Thank you so much.
I love how personal it feels. Like your lyricism is really great.
Yeah, that was something that was a bit difficult for me, was like releasing it, being that it was so personal. It was kind of it was a side of myself that I was showing to the internet that I guess I hadn't realized I was comfortable sharing until it was too late to close the door on it,
Was Avian the first time you wrote something that felt that personal?
I had released a project back in 2019 called Primary, and I had a lot of artist growth to do where I felt like I couldn't necessarily like access things that personal, but I feel like every single release I've had up until this point was the extent to which I knew myself. And I think I just got to know myself a little bit better over the course of the last year. And so then releasing music that like has that in mind, I kind of let deeper parts of myself out.
And what would you say was like the biggest change you've had that really inspired Avian over the past year, both as a person or as a musician?
I have to think about that for a moment.
All right. Sorry if I got too philosophical.
No worries, no worries. I love philosophy. Don't worry about it. I think this is going to sound corny.
No, go for it.
Pardon me. But I don't know. I feel like I got a little closer to like feeling where my soul wants to go a little bit. Like I started to listen to that a lot, and like, I was watching birds a lot, and I was kind of obsessed with this idea of flight and also, some theological things that birds represent and things that I really like identified with and also connected to.
Is there any particular bird that resonates with you? I feel like I'm obliged to ask this question.
Yeah, I actually don't know the name of them, but in Philadelphia, there are these birds that would just live around my neighborhood, and so many of them. I don't know what the name is. I would have to look it up, but they're just like really small, kind of boring little brown birds that
Aw.
fly in groups, but they're cute.
I'll take that. And are you originally from Philly?
I'm from a suburb outside of Philly, but I moved to Philly like 3 years ago.
And one thing that I talked a lot about this with Abbott is just like how tight the Philly music feels. Like I can really tell based on your posts and just like your social media interactions that you're all really like friends. And I think it's something really, really interesting to see. You don't have that a lot with artists. So I was wondering, like, what's your favorite aspect of the local Philly scene?
Yeah, it kind of blindsided me. Like I had moved there and didn't really expect to find a group of, it's not that I didn't expect it, but I didn't know what to expect. And yeah, I think my favorite thing is I mean, before COVID, there was like this really good show culture, and this goes to house bands that play with full bands, and also like some of the R&B scene that is in Philly is really strong, and it's all love and it's all support, and I really just enjoy that it values good art and authenticity first.
And do you want to talk a little bit more about just like the collaborative nature that you have on your tracks, and like you've been on a lot of other producers' tracks, and yeah, is there any highlights of just making music collaboratively?
For sure, yeah. It kind of all started with the song Steal My Bike on Ryan Lehan's page. That was one where myself and my friend Gordon and Anthony and Ryan all made together, and it was a blast. It just kind of like started the whole process for us. And funnily enough, I hadn't met Anthony until the song had come out. Like I did a session with Gordon and Ryan to do like most of the song, and then like Anthony and Ryan did a session together, but I didn't know who he was, and like he just kind of like showed up on this song, and I was like, oh, this verse is kind of cool.
Is that how you guys like met for the first time?
Completely, yeah. The first time we met was at Ryan's release party for Platinum Green. That was the first time we were all in the room together. And it's funny because Anthony and I had walked up to each other and totally just lied to each other's faces right off the bat. And
I want to know the story now.
yeah, so he came up to me and I don't know who said it first, but I think I was like, yo man, like I heard your stuff, like it's really sick. He was like, yeah, I heard your stuff too, it's really sick. And like we just didn't listen to each other's music like before that. It's just like we were just going off of this one song. And then we made some music like the next day. I think I went over to his house like the day after the release party. Mm-hmm. And we watched regular show and ate Chinese food. It was a really good time.
I love that. Is that like the origin story of your collective? Anything could be here?
I believe it is. Yeah, it totally is. It didn't start as Anything Could Be Here. We were just kind of like, people called us Steal My Bike Gang, which was like, so I don't know. We thought it was goofy, so we were like, we need to like rebrand ourselves as something a lot better. But it totally just started as us collaborating and making projects together that we felt were important. But we're all each individually doing our own solo projects. And I think with Avian, kind of my goal was to show everybody what I have without doing so many collaborations, because all those tracks were just produced and written by me, and like there's no features on that. And that was all kind of like, it wasn't planned from the get-go, but I just like I found myself doing that.
It's something that is authentically Patrick, right?
Right, thank you.
And yeah, I've mentioned like I really like your lyricism and just how heartfelt your songs all are. Like I feel like you can really tell the passion that you put into the project.
Thank you.
And on that topic, what would you say was your traditional writing process for Avian, like as a solo artist?
Yeah, so it started out as me kind of, I had just released Comma, and I wasn't really feeling it that much after releasing it. It was one of those where I'd release it and I was like, oh, you know what? I know I can do better. And it's not to say that Comma isn't good. Like, there's still a lot of really cool moments that I absolutely love on Comma. But I felt like I wanted to just like challenge myself in ways that I never had. And so it started out as this idea to create a song a month and then put them on SoundCloud. And then by the end of it, I would have like a 4-song EP by the end of the year, because I started it in August.
Okay.
I was like, okay, I'll just like do this like EP. And it was me alone in a dim lit room in a shitty Philly apartment.
That's how good music gets made.
Yeah, exactly. And I just felt like it was my only way to feel free, other than, because it was COVID. We were all locked in our houses and my house sucked. And I was just really pushing myself with the production. And it starts with the production for me usually. I had compiled a bunch of sounds that I designed that I really liked into a folder, and I started to make this beat out of them, and that became Perception. And I started to write lyrics, and I was just going through a really tough time figuring out, like, things with my health, things with my mental health, things with a girl, and how it all intertwined into my life and my story and what I wanted to come out of it. And so that was me kind of like setting the trajectory for like where I wanted to go. And then I wrote I Wish It Didn't Hurt about a month after that. And then I kind of like didn't write too much for a little while, but then in December, music just started to pour out of me. It was a very like emotional time in my life, one where I was going through just challenges with identity and things of that nature. And I just found myself writing a lot of music, and there's more than just those 7 songs that made it on the project. There's a whole bunch of stuff that I guess was the scaffolding for the project. But around December, it became a lot more than just like a 4-song SoundCloud EP.
Were you the only person who participated in the project, like from the recording stage until like the mixing and mastering? Was that all you?
Yeah, that's kind of been my philosophy from the get-go, like when I started Patchymate. But I wanted to just follow through with that, and then also challenge myself to a level of refinement for like each of the stages, because it's not my first time releasing something, so I kind of like broke it down into phases and say like, okay, I gotta put like my writing hat on, and I gotta put my melody hat on, and now I have to put on my mixing and mastering hat on. And I just wanted it to like all be really tight and authentically me. And the only way for me to do that, in my eyes, not every artist will agree with this, but it's just I needed to do that myself.
And is that something that you learned yourself, like complete DIY style? Like, where does your music production background comes from? Both like composing and producing and like even your guitar work?
For sure, yeah. I started playing guitar when I was 8, and that's like where the bulk of my musical identity comes from. And like, I just listened to a lot of rock music as a kid. And yeah, I went to, when I was in high school, I started messing around with like house music, like beats and stuff, because I was really obsessed with deadmau5 back when I was like, I don't know, like 13 or something.
As you are.
Right, as you are when you're 13. And I still love deadmau5 so much though. But yeah, I was just like really obsessed with the idea that like you can create something that is uniquely yours. And I was just doing music production, and then for like 2 years when I was like 15 or 16, I took a break from music production to like just focus on guitar and acoustic guitar and really just like get that down. And then I picked it back up, and then a year and a half ago I downloaded Ableton, which like really unlocked a lot of doors for me creatively, just because I don't know, I just personally prefer the software, and I didn't think I would, but I really enjoyed it. And it just comes from a place of experimentation and learning what my friends are doing and why it works, but then also being like, okay, well, what do I want to see with kind of the methods that the people around me are using?
No, yeah, that's great. That makes sense. I feel like that resonates a lot with like current music culture too. Like this whole DIY aesthetic. You just put yourself out there and go for it.
Yeah, totally. And you just have to experiment and then see what you like.
And just want to talk a little bit more about your guitar work. I like you mentioned that you've been playing it since like you were 8, and I want to know like what are your biggest inspirations on that end of things?
In the guitar world, I guess my favorite song of all time is Ocean by John Butler. And I don't know if you know it, but it's an acoustic, like 12-minute kind of through composed piece for the 12-string guitar. And you could play it with a 6-string, but like he makes it on a 12-string. And yeah, I don't know. I really identified with it the first time I heard it. I was just blown away. I think I was in 9th grade. And I had to learn it. Like I just forced myself to learn it, and like every day after school I would just like watch him play it on YouTube and like figure out how he did what he did, because he was doing things with a guitar I'd never heard done before and conveyed a level of emotion and storytelling. Like I don't know, that song will always be there for me when I need it, and I don't listen to it all the time, only in like times of need, I guess, you know. But yeah, that song specifically like really shaped the way that I think about chords and melodies and stuff like that.
That's interesting. Like 12-minute, I would never expect that it would all come from a 12-minute like 12-string guitar song.
Yeah, totally solo, like just him and his guitar. I think a distortion pedal, and like he'll like tap his foot on the ground and stuff. But it's really touching.
On the topic of feelings and all that kind of stuff, what do you expect as an artist for your like listeners to feel? Is that something that you have in mind when composing? Like, oh, I want my listeners to like feel sad. I want my listeners to like feel hopeful, or you just make music?
I think about those things when composing like the track list and like the track order a lot of the time. Like, how do I want it to be perceived? And I think in the final stages of like packaging a release, I think a lot about like how do I want this to be perceived. But I try to keep it very organic and think first like, what do I feel personally right now in this room, and how can I convey it into music? And then yeah, I guess for me, music is also a very like visual endeavor. Like I don't know, I kind of visualize a lot of the textures and like things and try to like create a almost synesthetic picture with like the music. I guess I just try to make it look like something. Like I remember for Apathetic, I wanted it to look wonky and like look obtuse and misshapen. For that reason, I think it's like one of my favorites, because it's just like very strange looking to me.
While being so careful with the playlist, would you say that Avian ended up being a concept album? Because I like all of the breakup themes and like the self-growth, like it definitely feels like a concept album, and it feels like that was a plan from the start. So I want to know your outlook.
Yeah, it wasn't. I really liked the concept of the Avian, and I carried it through the music, and I came up with the cover art on New Year's and knew instantly that it was the cover art for the whole EP. As soon as I took the picture, I was like, that's it. And so then I started to like carry it through for the final stages of packaging the release. But yeah, I guess it became that way. It became a concept piece. And yeah, it wasn't something that was really intended to do that. Yeah, I would agree. It tells a story. Yeah, themes of breakup is an interesting one, because one thing that I wanted to illustrate is that it's not necessarily like, yes, it's sad, but it's not a sad breakup. It's a change of relationship, and it's optimistic in that way, that like things change and you have to change with them, you know?
That's a really good segue into like my favorite song on the record, which is like Can't Emphasize Always Enough. Like
Yeah.
that track hits really hard, and I feel like you get on the exact spot of like a post-breakup mentality.
Yeah, and that's a track if there's any track that I don't want to speak too much on, it's gonna be that one, just because I feel like it says pretty much everything it needs to, and anything added to it would just water it down, personally.
No, yeah, I'm with you there. Like I really love the way you use the voicemail. It was a really good artistic choice.
Thank you so much.
And I also really like the transition from that song to Mirages, and I want to hear.
I love that too. as soon as I got that to work, I was like, oh, that's what
It's so smooth, so seamlessly, and I feel like the themes of the songs match really well too. So I want to hear more about Mirages.
Yeah, it's
Songwriting process, music making process.
that took the least amount of time out of any of the songs.
I'm
I made that
impressed.
song. I made that song in, other than like minor changes and like mixing stuff. Yeah, I made that song almost entirely in like 6 hours, and it just like poured out of me. And the no, it's not to make you happy. That hook was really just I didn't write it down. I didn't even think about it that much. It just came out of me. And then when thinking about the track list, I thought to put it after I Can't Emphasize Always Enough says like, this, I am not here to lift your mood. I'm trying to emphasize the fact that change is difficult, and I don't care what you think of it, but we have to get through it, you know?
I think that's a really positive message too. Like it's a really good outlook to have on things, and you convey that really well.
Thank you.
Let's talk about your music videos, because I think they're all really great. They all follow like a very interesting aesthetic.
For sure, yeah. They're a massive piece to the puzzle, and I can't emphasize enough how much Mindless, you know, really inspired a lot of amazing ideas into how it would be perceived. And working with him led to working with Hivemind too, which was just another phenomenal opportunity. And yeah, I can't thank Alex from Mindless enough. He really wanted to like build something together, and I think we built something beautiful, and he's just so talented.
And what would you say are your biggest like inspirations for the videos, like as an overall collective?
Yeah, I talked to Alex about this a little bit, and I think one thing that I really like about his work is how tasteful it is. It's super effective, it has a lot of character, yet it's not over the top, and it does exactly what it needs to, and sometimes a little bit more. I think with videos like I Wish It Didn't Hurt, for example, we had come up with the concept of like building a wall, and he just straight up like went to Home Depot, bought drywall, and painted a wall and built it, and we created that set together. And when making the video, he knew that the set was the important thing and the editing was there to complement it. And you know, he just has a very good read on like priorities and artistic priorities.
It completely adds like another layer to the tracks. Like it transforms the visual.
Thank you. Yeah, one of my favorite things is using the canvas. The canvas feature on Spotify, where like you can have an 8-second like video clip on Spotify, and to have like all the music videos there, I don't know, I just really like it.
I really like my favorite one is the music video for Baby You're Tonight.
Yeah, it's a really cool one.
And I think that one of the things that I really love about the track is how catchy it feels. Like, I feel like you as an artist don't stray away from just making songs that are catchy, and they are like, you don't really stray away from pop. And I admire that a lot, because like a lot of artists are very against making songs that are like good, like enjoyable to listen to. And I really like that.
It has to make you dance.
Exactly.
It has to make you dance.
Yeah, I want to hear more about that song and just music. Like how do you see music's role in your life? Is it something that's supposed to be fun? Is it something that's supposed to be deep, or like all of the above? Like,
I think it started out when I was younger. It just started out as something that I took a lot of comfort in and really enjoyed. It was just something that was nothing but very enjoyable and very fun. And we would do like dance parties in my kitchen with like my parents and stuff back when I was a kid, and that really like shaped the way that I think about what music is supposed to be in a lot of ways. And then, you know, when high school set in and you start to like form somewhat more complex emotions, I started to use music as more of like a tool to process difficult things. And I think I started to bring that into the writing process as well. And collaborating those two worlds has been something that has been really fun to explore how to do.
yeah. Is there any areas of music that you still want to explore? Like any specific musical influences or even like non-musical influences that you want to bring to your songs that you still haven't got the chance to do it?
Yeah, I haven't gotten the chance to work with piano enough. I don't own a piano and I don't really have access to one, but I would love to get my hands on one. And I'm looking around Facebook marketplaces as we speak, trying to get a hold of one, because I just think it would be a really enjoyable addition to the music making process.
I think that the contrast is really interesting too, like having the analog piano and even like a lot of your guitar work contrasting directly to like the electronic beats and like the more hyperpop influence.
Yeah, part of my goal with like I don't get me wrong, I absolutely love hyperpop and everything that it has brought to music, and it was such a necessary burst of energy and culture that I think like had to emerge and still has so many places to go.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing that I wanted to explore was like using more acoustic and less like glittery aesthetics to try to like achieve that sort of energy without, I guess, all the like candy. But yeah.
It's interesting just like how many genres you bring into your tracks. Because like, yeah, hyperpop, there's like the more indie pop, I would say even like punk, like emo, which is great. It's great to have that variety.
Yeah, I love variety, you know. I think this generation of artists, if anything, doesn't want to stick to more than one genre. I think 10 years ago, back when you would get like music on your iTunes library or even like from CDs and stuff, you would shop around by genre and you would say like, "Oh, I like metal," or like, "I like R&B," and you kind of like stick to that genre more or less. But I think with the internet and with the way that culture has shaped over the last like 10 years, it's brought so much variety to everyone's attention that you don't just love one thing, you kind of like it all. And some people still do love one thing, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, and there's a niche for everyone.
Exactly. And I think there's just certain blends of like recipes of genres that I think some people will identify more than others, but all of them are valid, you know.
How would you describe like the Patchymate genre then? How would you describe your music?
Yeah, I don't know. It definitely varies. I would say that it's like experimental pop music, because I like playing with the things that people expect from pop music and kind of deviating away from those things in a lot of ways. Like, for example, with I Wish It Didn't Hurt, no hook or melody like really repeats or line. And I wanted to play with the idea of just doing one completely through composed melody and still getting it like feeling complete and whole. But at the same time too, tracks like Baby You're Too Nice has this really catchy hook that only repeats once, and then like the song's over in 2 minutes, because I feel like I wanted to explore how people would feel about that.
Talking a little less about music and a little more about arts in general. On your Twitter, you mentioned like you really love Japanese art, and come on, give us some recommendations.
Oh, dude, Ichiko Aoba is probably one of my favorite artists right now. She's been making stuff, or at least releasing under Ichiko Aoba for like 10 or 11 years now. And just seeing the way that everything, she's so theatrical and tastefully theatrical about all of her melodies, and she creates these incredible dreamscapes. You know, Japanese art is really only something that I recently got into. And there was this other album.
What draws you to them?
I think it's the experimentation. I think there's something about it where they're a little bit more willing to test the intelligence of their listeners and like trust that people are interested enough to listen to more unusual or outlandish things. My friend Logan goes by the artist name Logan. Is somebody who like really got me into a lot of like Japanese stuff as well, and I think his art like really. I mean, he's not Japanese, but you know, he takes after a lot of it really well, and I think like I don't know, just the level of complexity and experimentation is so appealing to me.
I love when I see like influences that are like way out of the box. And then I can like, after I know, I can completely like associate them to the tracks. And like now the experimentation makes a lot of sense, as you were explaining.
Thank you. Yeah, I and also just like Ableton-esque music. You know, I work in Ableton, and Ableton really caters towards a certain type of experimentation that I think is very fluid, and also it creates this whole infinity of things that can be explored, and I really enjoy.
Are there any non-music related inspirations that you have? Like any other works of art? Maybe like a movie, a book, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, there. Shoot, I totally forget his. Oh yeah. There's this painter named Mark Rothko from the 60s and 70s, I think, who created these like absolutely beautiful, almost pastel tone paintings where it was almost entirely focused around color theory. And I just found it so effective and emotional for some reason, and I can't tell why. You know, I look at the paintings and I'm like, why do I feel this thing from my childhood from these like 3 colors, you know? And what else is there? I really like, I don't know, I really like the movie Good Will Hunting. I like the way that it tells the story. Really good movie. Love Robin Williams. And yeah, just a lot of like 2000s movies too. I just think they're great.
2000s nostalgia overall is really great, and I'm glad it's making such a comeback.
We all knew it would, you know? The 90s did it in 2010s, the 80s did it in the 2000s, and now it's the 2000s coming back.
And how do you feel about that? Like,
I love it. I think, you know, art is cyclical, and trends are cyclical, and it's something that like everybody is kind of like trying to achieve right now with like the 2000s aesthetic, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. If anything, that should be embraced. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to see where, because people have this like pinpoint of things that they like about that time, there's going to be a new identity for this decade, I think, and one that is, I think, going to be one of the greatest decades of music and art in history, and I'm just really excited to watch it unfold.
Yeah, I'm really hopeful about the music world in like a post-hyperpop environment.
Yeah, you can always count on art.
All this computer music.
Yeah, it's so fascinating. And the way that it's intertwined with life, one of the albums that like really inspired me with that was Porter Robinson's Nurture, how he like really combined elements of, you know, impressionism, but also electronic like dance music, and created something that was like so intrinsically emotional.
And I feel like you even take part on the 2000s nostalgia. I mean, Violet, that has been
come on, yeah.
That has been my most streamed song, like on Last FM for the past 6 months. And that's how like I originally found About You and Anthony.
That's crazy.
And I want to hear your side of the story, because like I already talked to him about that, and he gave us some like really good stories. So I want to hear about Violet.
Yeah.
Such a good song.
Thank you so much. I'm sure he told you that it was one that we did not overthink. It was one where he came over and we were listening to Blink-182, and we were listening to like punk trap, and like we were just like, yo, this is like really fun. We should just mess around. And those drums that come in around like, I don't know, 15 seconds or something, was something that I did as a joke. And he was like, yeah, no, wait, this is sick. And we just like started writing kind of as a joke a little bit, but then we started to like write about things that were going on in our lives and things that were going on with girls that we were seeing at the time. And yeah, it was something where like we finished it like that day, and we were like, okay, this is cool, but what do we do with it? Like we didn't know what to do with it, and we were like, I guess we'll drop it. And so we decided to do it with like kind of like a Valentine's Day theme, because Valentine's Day was coming up 2 months from then, and we were like, okay, if we have 2 or 3 months out, we can like make a music video. And that was our first time trying to make a music video, and we just like created that set in my living room in my Philly apartment, and it just all kind of like happened very organically. Mm-hmm. And I think people who listened to it like caught on to that, and it's something that I want focus more on is just like organic things like that, you know?
It is a really fun song, and that's why I love it so much. Like, it's catchy, it's like the lyrics are good. And it's just like a song that it feels like you guys were having a good time like making, and I appreciate that a lot about music.
Yeah, totally. And it was something where we were just having fun. We were totally just having fun, and we had a lot of fun performing. We performed it at one show before it got released, and that was a crazy show. Like, people were moshing and stuff and had no idea what the song even was. And like Anthony hadn't even released HD yet. I had just released Primary like 2 months before, which is like not necessarily like that project wasn't made in Ableton or anything. It didn't necessarily have a lot of the same philosophies as like my current music. But nonetheless, we did that show and we did Violet, and we were like, wow, like this song, we have to drop this. You know?
Absolute banger, yeah. I have one more like quote unquote serious question that I really want to ask you, and
Please.
Is there a difference between Patchymate and Patrick?
Yes, and it's something that I've had to realize a little bit. I don't know. If I want my listeners to, which is crazy that I even have listeners, if I want my listeners to like learn anything from this interview, it's that Avian is just one moment in my life, you know, and it feels so big and it feels so real and so passionate. But at the end of the day, it is one moment in my life, and I totally understand that I'm going to be perceived based on like art that I create, but you know, I also like other things, and I'm not as angry or upset all the time as I see in my music, you know. But yeah, I am Patrick first, and that's something that I've been trying to focus on more and more recently.
What should we expect next from Patrick or Patchymate or Patchy?
Yeah, music will still be coming out for sure. But yeah, we'll keep that as the answer, I guess.
That's good. I'll take it. A musician making music.
I don't want to say too much. Yeah, I'm still making music.
Can you give us maybe some when we will drop? We'll still hear new Patchymate songs before the end of the year?
Yeah, before the end of the year.
Amazing.
Sure.
I'm excited. I'm really excited.
Amazing. I'm so glad.
Fun questions now. You made a tweet that I retweeted back when you tweeted it. I thought it was the funniest thing, which is the best music makes you shake your ass and cry at the same time. What songs make you shake your ass and cry at the same time?
Oh my god. What songs make you shake your ass and cry at the same time? Low-key, I think Mirages does that.
Alright.
Caroline Polachek's album Pang. It's like this beautiful cross between like emotional pop music but also like dance. Like So Hot You're Hurting My Feelings is just like about like a long distance relationship, crying on the dance floor, you know.
That's a good answer. I didn't think about that song, but it fits the mold perfectly.
Yeah, and a lot of like Imogen Heap and Frou Frou. It's like very emotional pop music as well.
And the other thing is that here at WSUM, I have a show called That's So Cringe, where it's like guilty pleasure music. I've done musical theater, I've done like mid-2000s emo, I've done like Disney Channel songs, and I want to know like what is your musical guilty pleasure? Give us something good.
Coldplay, man. I'm a sucker for Coldplay, and a lot of people absolutely despise
my heart.
But I think their first two albums are gold, and I don't like all of their albums, I'll be totally real, but I also think like Viva La Vida is such a comfort album for me. That's a very like, it's an album you find on your dad's iPhone in like a long car ride, you know what I mean? And yeah, I definitely listened to that album a lot as a kid. And what is another guilty pleasure? I gotta go. Third Eye Blind.
Okay.
Yeah.
The Coldplay just beats it. Here at the station on the main desk over there, we have a pair of like earplugs with a post-it note that says, only for when Coldplay's playing.
Oh my god.
That's just like been a decoration piece here for like 5 years.
That's so funny.
But great answers. I always ask this to like everyone that I interview, and Coldplay beats all of them.
That's amazing.
But yeah, thank you so much for agreeing to talk with us.
Oh my God, thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure.
It's been really fun talking to you. I'm such a
Absolutely.
huge fan. Like, as I mentioned on Instagram, when the first time I
Thank you.
contacted you, like Avian
Thank you
has
so
been
much.
on my loop, and it's like one of my top albums of the year. So like, I really appreciate you coming as
And
a
I
fan. And
really appreciate people like you who identify with the music, and like it's reaching places I didn't think it would, and you have no idea how much that means to me.
yeah, I've played it on my show. I mean, good
Thank
stuff.
you. Well,
Do you have any last messages? Anything that you want to say?
yeah, eat vegetables, dude. Oh my God. Yeah, everyone needs to just eat more vegetables.
Even knowing that plants have consciousness.
Yeah, you like that tweet where I said, "Don't tell the vegans about plant consciousness."
Exactly.
Yeah, no, but seriously, like, I don't know. Everybody just eat your broccoli, man.
Eat your broccoli. Thank you for coming in. Thank you for all of you watching this video. We appreciate it. And stream Patchymate. Stream Patchymate.
Thank you so much.
Good music.
Take
See you,
care.
everyone.
Bye.